Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Monday, October 18th. How's everybody?
Good.
Thanks for being here on such short notice. A huge appreciation for Chris, Candace, City of Kenner to make this happen. Just to put all of these things in a neat little basket for you folks. I used to live here in Kenner, and I moved to California in 1998 for Hurricane George. After that, I said, I'm done with the hurricanes, and guess what I'm doing? I'm serving the needs of the many. As a matter of fact, when Chris and I were walking through this area and she was giving me a tour, I remember gift wrapping being back there. And I worked one particular winter between jobs here and bought many an item. As a matter of fact, my daughter's first dress when I knew she was going to be born was somewhere around here. So I present to you folks with a great deal of humility and a great deal of personal experiences here. So thanks for being here. And when the plane landed and I saw the blue tarps, let me tell you, I got all choked up. So this is not only personal, but this is also very professional, and want to make sure that you folks know what steps need to be taken, not only as a business owner, as you can tell, businesses, but homeowners and renters. And under the nonprofit moniker comes places of worship. So if any one of you folks knows of pastors or churches that need assistance that got damaged, please talk to them. Reach out to Chris, reach out to the city. We'll be glad to hold these presentations. Next slide, please. So basically, when you think of the SBA, just go back 1 second, Fernando. So when you think of the SBA, most folks don't know what our role is. They just don't, okay? Our program is really for the underinsured and the uninsured. And the expectation is that we provide the largest source of funds to homeowners and renters and business owners post-disaster for privately damaged properties. FEMA's role up front, you see the sign on Williams Boulevard, disaster assistance, register with FEMA, register with FEMA. That is the very first step that you need to take, okay? Once you register with FEMA, next slide, please. By the way, this is the damaged area, okay? I'm gonna put this down real quick. So we're down here in Jefferson, right? 25 parishes. This is what we call economic injury. This is what we call primary. The difference between these two is here you can get physical damages. That's the deep orange color, physical damages to property. And also businesses can get monies that they wouldn't make because they're closed to pay their bills on time. I mean, with COVID and this, businesses have really taken it on the chin, not to talk about homeowners and renters. So our job is to make sure we help all gamuts of society. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we're the largest source of funds, or primary source of funds. So to date, as of this morning, $627 million worth of loans to homeowners, renters, and business owners have been made. That's almost 2/3 of $1 billion of the capital B. 12,675 families have been helped. And the count goes up. Last week when I was talking to Chris, the number was closer to 414 million. In less than, 4 or 5 days, I met Chris last Tuesday, give or take, and in less than a week, we're up $200 million. So the need is great. That's why the numbers keep going up. So let me stop right there and talk about something near and dear to your heart. How many are insured in this room? How many have gotten insurance checks so far? Thank you. Please visit your local disaster recovery center and ask for an assignment of insurance proceeds. If you want to write this down, assignment of insurance proceeds. Well, say again. Do I have a what now? Oh, I'll give you the location listing. Thank you. So the assignment of insurance proceeds is very simple. Once you register with FEMA and you apply with the SBA, that's the vernacular we use, register and apply. What happens is you're either approved when you apply or you turn down. We have a problem right now, not we, but collectively, most folks don't know what to do with an SBA application when they get a phone call, an email, or a package in the mail. Sitting there doesn't do anything, it just sits there. So all anyone gets is what FEMA provided you up front. The process stops for everybody right there. If you take action, please do take action. 2 outcomes. You get approved or you get denied. Okay? So let's talk about the application with the SBA and the assignment of insurance proceeds. What they're saying is when you apply and you get approved, the sums of monies that you potentially might be getting from the insurance company, we can front that up front. And then when the insurance company decides to settle it out, it gets paid to the loan with no prepayment penalty. So basically what that does is you have the peace of mind, there's no hand-wringing involved, contractor shows up, the money's there. Let me get into the weeds a little bit, okay? Step one, when you apply, they're going to look at credit, they're going to look at income and expenses, they're going to look at the overall picture. The fact that you may have some glitches in your credit doesn't mean that they're going to turn you down. We'll look at the bigger picture. We're looking at the ability of the person to repay, how old the credit was, so on and so forth. But that's not an end-all or be-all, okay? Step two, somebody comes out to your property and assesses the damages that your property went through. Assuming property is a human being, I just said went through. So, assess the damages, and so let's say you think that the property went through $35,000 worth of damages. The insurance company, not the insurance company, but the assessor might say, no, it's closer to 45. You're like, oh, okay, I didn't take that into consideration. Then step three, the underwriter looks at it, the damages are broken down, front door, roofs, shingles, fence, so on and so forth, and then they look at your income and expenses. Do these numbers make sense? Yes, they do. Can this person repay this note? All of you folks have a green sheet in your hand. Take a look at the bottom of that page. It gives you an interest rate of 1.563% as low as page 1, column left. So the interest rate to borrow money in the absence of insurance or short of insurance is 1.563%. Can you cash flow that damages over a 30-year maximum term? Not everybody qualifies. And if the answer is yes, for the most part, the loan is yours. It's that simple. And again, people ask, why small business? Because we are tasked with helping the community. That's how the Congress back in '53 framed us. So we've been around since 1953. So with FEMA, our job is to meet, we have an expression, unmet needs created by the community. That's what we're trying to address. Their role is a capital G. Whenever you interact with FEMA, just remember capital G. Do you know what that stands for? Grants. Capital G, grants. They do not have a lending program. Their services are essential. Their services are safe, secure, sanitary conditions in the short term. So they want to make sure that you're taken care of in the short term upfront, be in a safe scenario. They want to make sure that you're not in harm's way. So all the questions up front lead to making sure you have funds to be safe. Then they'll refer you over to the SBA. And right now those numbers are about 64 to 65% of the time. That's fairly large percentages. Just to give you an example, with Harvey it was closer to 72, Maria was close to 83%, because the damages were so extensive that grants were never intended to make a family whole. And neither were the businesses that were impacted. When we talked about assignment of insurance proceeds, this is the other part that I need to talk about also. Disaster losses or unexpected create a huge financial hardship. When you take out a loan, just like anything else, like a mortgage, we're a lender. The fact that it's the government doesn't change anything. I was a banker for 26 years prior to my tenure here at the SBA. The loans I made for commercial property or homeowners or whatever else, we wanted to protect our investment. So same way, I want to make sure that you're protected, so you want insurance. I want to protect myself with investment, so I want insurance. And basically what that does in the future is, God forbid, in the state of Louisiana, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. That we know, right? I say that tongue-in-cheek only because it's just, when people say, hey, is there going to be a disaster in Louisiana? Are you kidding me? You know? Unfortunately, that's just the lay of the land, if you will, you know? Pridefully so. So next time something happens, all you would do is reach out to your friendly neighbor or Allstate and say, hey, I got damages, will you please cover me? And they'll, same process. Now you're underinsured. They'll send you the monies. And by the way, how many folks here have deductibles which are 2% or somewhere between 2 and 5? We cover those. Okay? We cover those. That's part of the loan package. That's the underinsured part. So insurance job is to pay your claim minus any type of deductions, depreciation, loss of use, deductibles. Then you get the check. So never does an insurance company make you whole dollar for dollar. Fair statement? That's where we pick up. So that 70 cents that they pay, that's great. That's where the assignment of insurance proceeds comes in. That 30% we will cover. You'll have to amortize that over, repay that over a maximum 30-year term. Not everyone qualifies at the interest rate that you see down there, 1.563%. Fixed. No fees, no points, no obligation to take it if you were approved. But then the question becomes, you want to dip into your own personal proceeds and make everybody whole. Okay? And if you choose to, then that's fine. So just to put it back, take it one step back. Why are we here? GOSEP, after Ida or during Ida, stated to the federal partners that that's the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. That's what GOSEP stands for. Reached out to FEMA and said, look, this is going to be a bad one. We need you guys to come into town. So we were invited by the state of Louisiana through FEMA, when FEMA says we need individual assistance, so their grants-based program, capital G, kicks in, and our low interest rate program kicks in. We covered this, bullet points down here. How often do we all know that after a disaster, every bit of spending on the consumer side and the business side just evaporates? It does, doesn't it? Nobody wants to spend any money because the future is so uncertain. So our role, the SBA's role, is to make sure that the critical source of funds to businesses and homeowners by repairing their homes, critical tax base for the city of Kenner, right? Assessing value, so on and so forth. If it's damaged, they can't collect. Here we are. That's our role. Next slide, please. Thank you for doing that, Fernando. So this is what empowers us, as I mentioned, low interest rate. Just to give you an idea, if someone goes up and says, I don't want to borrow money, well, you don't have to. You can figure out on your own what to do with your own personal resources. Anybody that watches the bond market, if you were to look at the tables for the bond market from last Friday, the cost of borrowing for the federal government on a 10-year note was 1.516 as of Friday. The cost to you today is 1.563. So basically, you're borrowing at the same rate as the United States. That's low cost of borrowing, extremely low. How many have credit cards in your pocket? You know what the average interest rate of those credit cards are in your pocket? What's in your wallet costs you 17%. I have one too. I just try to pay it off every month. Nationally, the cost of a credit card, interest rate-wise, is 17.2%. So if we can use that gratuitously without even thinking about it, why would you not use ours to get your life back in order? Maximum 30 years. And I got to say this over and over again, not everyone qualifies. Payments are based on cash flow. So you make $1,000, your expenses are $300, net $700. Can that $700 repay the damages that we assessed over a maximum 30-year period at 1.56%? If the answer is yes, for the most part, the money is yours, okay? In some cases, we can refinance you first. In some cases, we can help you move from West Esplanade over to Chateau Estates. I'm saying if you want to relocate, it could, because the maximum loan amount on a personal, on the home for SBA is $200,000. And if you notice, if you go to page 2 of your fact sheet, if you look at it, top end, third paragraph down, it tells you what the maximum statutory limits are. $200,000 for homeowners, $40,000 for renters and homeowners, and in that personal property catch-all phrase are cars. Okay? Next slide, please. Back to the top point about insurance. We will only cover stuff that's not compensated. In other words, duplication benefits is a no-no. That's why we use the phrase assignment of insurance proceeds. And I'll answer your question in a second. Hold on. Just in case. So that, questions, by the way, at the end of the session, if you guys don't mind, and I'll come to you first. one of the reasons why we can't help somebody, one of the many reasons. Any delinquency with federal debt, whether it be child support payments, tax payments, or by the way, you had insurance from a previous disaster here, you didn't maintain it over the life of the loan, guess what? That's a no-no. So the fact that you paid on time is great, but you let the insurance lapse, not a good thing. Automatic denial. And for you and for the property. Next, please. Thanks, Fernando. A very, very insidious detail. How many of you folks here are business owners? 1, 2. Fair enough. So, business owners, you work for somebody, you might work for somebody, you might work for somebody. Talk to them about this. And this number here basically means this. 1 in 4 businesses that were closed for the first 5 days of a disaster has a 90% probability of failure in the first year. 1 in 4 businesses. How long did it take for energy to come back, or I should say, for the power to be restored here? On average, 11 days, 12 days? Facts, right? I'm not making this up. It's about 11 to 12 days if I recall correctly. So 25% of those businesses are already in harm's way. So talk to your employers, talk to folks that you know that own businesses, and have them apply for the economic injury disaster loan, which is on your fact sheet, on page 2, top line. Briefly, let me cover those items too. Basically, if you are a business owner, you have physical damages, same scenario. You apply. Businesses do not have to register with FEMA, by the way. They're encouraged to do so, but they don't have to. And if you qualify, the monies that you can borrow potentially as a business owner is up to $2 million. It's a cash flow loan. You can use it to pay your people. It's important. You can pay your product, inventory, anything else that you actually need to make payments on an ongoing basis because you are a business. So anything to keep the business vibrant and thriving. And oh, by the way, you can have more than one business loan. You can have more than one SBA loan. You just can't combine them. Next slide, please. One page that covers all of our numbers. And by the way, Chris, can we share this with the folks who may have registered with you via email so that you can save your gigabytes and drives? They can email this to you. Perfect. Just in case, just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. We'll be sharing that. And the fact sheet is right after this, Chris? Perfect. Good. Next slide, please. Well, no. Let's just talk about the fact sheet that you have right in front of you. Okay. And right in front of you, you have at the very first page, up top, you see the actual, thank you, sir. You'll see a very important date, October 28th. That is your filing deadline. In other words, that's a number predicated by FEMA. They're the lead agency, so we follow the instructions. So your registration has to be in with FEMA by the 20th of October, and you can apply with the SBA concurrently. There's a physical step, but let me separate that out. Register with FEMA is step 1, apply with the SBA is step 2. What that basically means is you physically have to fill out an application. There are a few ways you can do that. Look at the back, at the very bottom of the fact sheet. It tells you electronically now that most people have electricity back and internet back. You can apply online. You can go visit one of the disaster recovery centers. We're headed to 2 of the ones which are opening later today, one on Tillery Street in New Orleans, another one in Oswego. And there is a center at the library in New Orleans, Loyola Avenue. Or you can call toll-free, 1-800-659-2955. Okay? And I'll share with the city of Kenner the location listings, and they can pass it on to you folks. There's such a moving target. In other words, we're constantly opening so many that sometimes the list on Friday may not be the list on Saturday. I was down in Grand Isle. We opened one up yesterday in Grand Isle. I drove all the way down there, and that was not on the location listing as of Friday. So just to give you an idea. And by the way, things are just really bad there too, as much as it's over here. So with that, any questions I'll start taking. My presentation as a whole is over. So let me go with this gentleman first. He had his hand up. Sir, your question?
Yeah, I was just curious, and I think you answered it. We can get copies of the slides via email? Okay, perfect.
We'll make sure that Chris and our team coordinate. Is everyone listed their phone number and email address on the check-in sheet? Is there one? Nope, we'll make sure that happens. Team, do we have a notepad that we can pass around? They can write down their name and their email address? Please, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Next over there. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have pending late. Sorry for that. My question is, I've read some information about an SBA loan, and I don't know if what I've read is what I can understand. But to my knowledge, if you have good credit and you have other things necessary, you may not get an SBA loan. It's for people that do not have insurance or good credit or whatever. Is that correct?
Incorrect.
Incorrect. Could you tell me who qualifies for an SBA loan and what the requirements are?
Generally speaking, if you look at page 1 on your fact sheet, the green sheet, that's what we call the fact sheet, it briefly discusses a broad sweep of what the qualifications are. Generally speaking, if you pay your bills on time. Let me give you an example. I'll take 2 harsh examples. One harsh example is a lady with a credit score of 820 was turned down. Tell me why.
Didn't pay your bills on time?
With the 820, that wouldn't make sense, would it?
No.
Okay. The reason why she was turned down with a credit score of 820 was two of her automobiles that were damaged were still in the credit bureau, despite the fact that the insurance company had paid it off, and she had purchased 2 new cars. But initially, so there were 4 cars in the credit bureau. We didn't know which one was paid off, which had not been, so she was turned down for inadequate cash flow. So devil's in the details. Let me take another example. A person with a credit score, hypothetically, of 620 qualified. 620, generally speaking, is considered below the threshold of 660, which is considered normal. But that 620 had to do with a small collection account of $100. And medical bills don't count. So those 2 examples should give folks here an opportunity to believe that it's not just credit. It's the ability to repay the sums of money that were created as in terms of damages to your property, and can you repay that over a 30-year term? To address the second part of your question, insurance, everyone here is either underinsured or uninsured. The program for FEMA and SBA, FEMA's grants, we're loans, are very specifically targeted to meet those folks that don't have either. So if you're underinsured, which means for every $1 of damages, the insurance company is only going to give you 70 cents. 80 cents, 90 cents, whatever the number is, never dollar for dollar. The shortage of that is what we're trying to cover. That's what we want you to borrow. This is not a loan where, let's say you have a 1,500 square foot home, and you were always thinking of getting a gazebo. Man, I've been waiting to get a gazebo. Now I'm going to borrow money 1.563%. I'm going to put that in there. Can't do that. Okay, so 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath damages, that's what we fix. No home improvement involved. No home improvements involved. I hope that answers your question.
Right, so if you need a new roof and a fence,
Yes,
that would fall under it.
absolutely. And as I mentioned to the team here before, assignment of insurance proceeds is a big deal. If you have an insurance policy and you're waiting for them to close you out, ask our team to give you an assignment of insurance proceeds form where you state who the insurance company is, what your policy is, and what you're expecting to get from them. If you're approved with an SBA loan, we can temporarily increase the sums of your loan to include that insurance settlement. And what that does is gives you the peace of mind. I've talked to so many folks around town that have always said, by the way, I missed them not playing yesterday, the Saints that is. I'm having a hangover, but that's another story. Just got to see my fleur-de-lis and black and gold play. So a lot of times what happens is they don't have the money to write out to a contractor, and contractors are saying, pay me first. And if you don't have the monies and the peace of mind, why would you share your hard-earned dollars with the uncertainty that you don't know when that check's going to come? So those are one of the many reasons that you want to have assignment of insurance proceeds. And let me go into further detail on the part where I said, if you're turned down by the SBA, you get referred to FEMA. FEMA's other needs assistance is the third pot of money. So first pot of money is the grant space, safe, secure sanitary conditions, the capital G. Then you are referred over to the SBA. And if you are approved by the SBA, the expectation is what we're just talking about. If the SBA turns you down and you agree with the decision, you go to other needs assistance, which then FEMA gives you another pot of money, which is another capital G. If you want that other pot of money through FEMA, you have to be turned down by the SBA. And last but not least, long after FEMA and SBA have left the theater, long-term recovery groups will be here talking about assisting the needs of the community. So, sir, hypothetically, if you have not applied to the SBA and choose not to apply with the SBA, long-term recovery comes in, you attend the meeting and say, I need help. You know what the first question is going to be? Did you apply with the SBA? And the answer is no. They'll ask you to go back and apply before they can help you. So that's how critical your role is in rebuilding the community, one home, one renter, one business at a time. Our role is to provide those funds. Grants were never intended to complete the recovery of a community. Insurance is always the first line of defense. Always. And the absence of it and the shortage of it is what creates our need. There was another hand, I think it was you, sir.
Yeah,
Mike's coming.
I did apply for FEMA, but they said that I needed a completed insurance claim. That is still pending. Would that hold me back?
I won't respond to questions about FEMA because I'm ill-equipped. Same information that you have from the insurance company provided to us.
Okay.
We will do the rest.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, whatever questions we have, we will ask you. Whatever questions your particular situation might entail, we will have somebody answer you for
All
you.
right, thank you.
Over there, all the way over there. Thank you for doing that, sir. Thanks for being here, folks. This is quite energetic. Thank you.
Yes. I applied for FEMA. I went to the disaster relief, and I have an ID and a password and a PIN number. And I did receive, when I was away, $500. But then I heard I had to apply to FEMA first before going to SBA. But when I log in, it has 4 choices for a car and 4 other things. Didn't even apply to me. So how do I apply when I can't get into there?
There's a couple of ways. We can talk offline in your specific case. Phone number on the back of the fact sheet, 1-800-659-2955.
Okay.
Call them and they'll walk you through the steps very easily. That would be my first choice for you. And then it starts. And then there is also a website for us, disasterloanassistance.sba.gov, that you could log on to and apply, because
You know, that
FEMA's...
is not user-friendly. I spent hours yesterday, and I got all the way through SBA, and then it said, and they wanted my ID for...
ID verification, correct.
Yeah, and at the time, I didn't have it. Then I had to stop and go look for it. I get back to the computer, and they knocked me off, and I had to start all over again.
And my apologies for that. Look, you know, as a fellow consumer, I'm stung myself by identity theft, so on and so forth. So this is taxpayer money. So monies that we're sharing with all of you through a loan process is our money as taxpayers, right? So if we didn't take the necessary steps, guess what happens? She'll come by and say, you know, hypothetically, she may come in and say at a hearing, SBA is not doing their job, not having enough protections in place. What's up with that? And she's absolutely right. We lent you money. We didn't verify who you were. So it's kind of it's a delicate balance that we have to learn how to walk that beam to make sure it's not inconvenient, yet we protect the taxpayer by making sure that improper payments are not made. But we'll get with you and take care of that. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Lady will give you, the lady in the pink.
Good morning. I'm kind of puzzled with the insurance company. They came out once, They viewed everything, but I haven't heard from them, and it's been over a month. They won't even answer the phone when I call. This number, I mean, I don't have the number, but assignment of insurance, are those the people that you call about your insurance company?
That assignment of insurance proceeds is a very specific covenant, a facet of our program, the SBA program. So once you fill out those forms with the SBA, that one form, and let them know who your insurance company is, your policy number, any correspondence that you have along with that, we will do the rest.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
And look, I'll just give you another horrid example. This is not insurance bashing. Let me say that up front. In 2016, in the floods that I worked in up in Baton Rouge to Lafayette, a lot of insurance agents were basically telling folks, don't worry about it, checks in the mail. Some folks got checks in the mail. By the way, that particular declaration got an extension through the month of November. It was supposed to expire in October. And those checks didn't arrive till the month of March. We don't know what the reasons are. I'm not here to give you a reason. But all I'm trying to do is alleviate and help you rebuild quicker so that your home doesn't become a source of blight, your home doesn't become a source of pain through molding and what have you, and you get it back on your feet and move on. So why they do, I don't know. God bless you for reaching out to us, and we'll do what we can to assist you. Lady over here. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm understanding correctly that you must first apply to FEMA before SBA
I'd like to change the word to register.
to register, but you must register with FEMA. And it says here that if you have credit available elsewhere, maybe like equity in a home or something, your interest rate is almost double. Is that correct?
That's correct. So let me add details to it. A lot of folks are concerned about the second interest rate, which is still below market, by the way. 98% of all loans, historically, going back to 1953, have been made on the left-hand column. The reason we have to break it out is because Congress wants to know. We are we are accountable to Congress and the Small Business Committee and so on and so forth, and they'll ask these questions. Oh, by the way, because banks, credit unions, all financial institutions want to know, how much did we lend for a disaster? Oh, by the way, we can't lend money for a disaster, but we want to know how much you lent for a disaster. It's their way to make sure that the government is not involved in normal activities that a bank might be in. That's the reason why they parse out those details. So let me give you a real-life example with me being at the center of the equation. I was an analyst for Hurricane Sandy when I first joined the group. And we had a doctor who had a 7-figure net worth. In other words, it was millions of dollars. And he got the high rate. It was about 3.3%, so on and so forth. And he calls me up and he says, as part of my responsibility, as I mentioned, step 3, talk about the value of the home, talk about the damages. So I was doing step 3 with him. And he goes, Sushil, what are the odds of me going to the lower rate? And the lower rate was like 1.8% at that time, Hurricane Sandy. And I said, let's go over your financial statement. He actually had a 6-figure cash balance along with a corresponding 6-figure commercial real estate balance. So back in 2012, banks did not have an appetite to refinance commercial real estate when the balloon note came due. So balloon notes are such that when a lump sum comes due, it's not equally amortized. So when you have a 25-year note due in 10, basically means that there's year 11 through year 15 that you got to pay through. It's a lump sum. Banks didn't have the appetite to do that back then. He had set aside that cash. So when we took that out of the equation and justified it, he dropped right down to the lower rate. So no harm, no foul. Thanks for coming. No harm, no foul in terms of asking the question when that question comes up. And it's not a source of concern. It's just our way of accounting whether or not you deserve the subsidy or not because of regulatory mandates. Let me take a brief moment to introduce my team. I got Rick Tillery, got Fernando, and then I got Barbara Nitis. Thanks for being here, guys. What other questions do we have? Yes.
So what if we want to upgrade our roof, like from like a metal roof from a shingle roof? Is that going to be okay?
Sure.
Or is that going to be like?
No, those are questions you're asking to repair your home. So my example of the gazebo with this gentleman here had to do with home improvement. Home improvement is a no-no, but upgrading your shingle, as a matter of fact, ask the person when they call you whether or not that qualifies as a mitigant. Because there's money for mitigation where you can add that to the actual loan amount, and that's repaid over a maximum 30-year period. So for example, in California, where I'm from, that's where I moved to, you can actually, you can make a safe area to make sure the fires don't come. In places like Randall, you can actually build higher, if you will. You can build a derm, things along those lines. So potentially, I'm not a mitigation expert, you may want to ask if a certain type of roof that helps prevent roof damage in the future might be considered a mitigation source of funds. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same thing, because,
Oh, there was another lady who wanted a question before you.
Yeah,
Hold on
I'm
one
sorry.
second. No, it's okay. There was somebody else. Oh, right, this gentleman right here.
I was going to ask, if approved.
Wait for the mic.
I was going to ask, if approved, does SBA help get insurance for the future for the home?
Well, that would be, yes, that would be, now let me rephrase that. No, we were not going to help you because then we're guilty of steering. You'll pick the insurance company and we'll verify coverage and then you're covered for the life of the loan. Okay? And that's a very good question that opens up another door for me. The first 25, let's say you've been approved for $100,000 worth of damages. Okay? The first $25,000 is put into your checking account without any question because you said so. There's money's there. Every dollar after that is what we call a percentage of completion. What that basically means is if he's your contractor and you're the homeowner and I'm the SBA, the two of you have an estimate that you're going to work out, and he's requesting $10,000 and you're saying he completed the job. We send an inspector out to make sure that he did his job and you're satisfied. You sign off, and then the $10,000 comes into your bank account for you to pay him. So it's a percentage of draw, and also what it does is prevent you from paying interest that you wouldn't have to pay. So not all monies go into your account in a lump sum. It's percentage of completion. And there wasn't somebody else with their hand up. And then I'll go with you, sir. You.
no, I was just gonna ask you, so I don't know if you can see the picture well. So I have, like, they call it mantle. So, yeah. So I want to change that because I don't want to have a problem with shingles anymore. And will that be considered something you're replacing, or because it's not replacing, we're just making it new on the wall now?
So she has a very specific question to her specific condition. I'm not an expert on that, but when the underwriter called you, ask them about the specificity and they'll get you the answer. Because that's a very specific question that has to do with building code, and I'm not, or not code, but building materials. I'm not an expert in that at all.
It's just that we're gonna change it because we don't want to have the same problem anymore. But it's part of my roof. So will that be considered something like his gazebo that you were talking about?
Gazebo didn't exist before. Gazebo didn't exist before. He wants it a home improvement.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a home improvement. He didn't have one, so he cannot have one. So
Okay.
whatever existed before, the idea is to repair, recover, and rehabilitate what existed.
Okay.
No add-ons. The only add-ons you can consider is part of the mitigation.
Okay.
Okay? Because then technically, so think from a bank standpoint, the SBA is now lending money for home improvement. We can't be in there. If we go back to our role, go back to that slide, page number 3. Right there. That's our role. Our role is not for home improvement loans. Correct. And then we had this gentleman here.
Yeah, just staying on mitigation for a minute. You mentioned, okay, staying with mitigation, say we get some work done, we've got a loan, get the work done, and then an SBA inspector will come out and review the work to date. I like that feature because that keeps you from getting jammed up.
Correction.
Yeah.
Correction. And as a matter of fact, not only that, there is a dedicated case manager that you talk to, God forbid you endure financial hardships. You want more money, and once they started the work, and suddenly they find out that there's more work that needs to be done, and the contractor uncovered it, you can come back to the well.
Yes, sir.
And say, I need more money.
Okay.
So it's not a one-time and be done, okay? And here's the part that I didn't discuss because we didn't discuss it. If you're turned down for a loan, she has the opportunity to come back to the SBA within 6 months and say, guess what? You didn't run my credit right. I don't have that. That's not my account, or that was settled. And as long as we have proof of what took place and has been satisfied, we can reconsider the loan. Okay? And every applicant has up to 6 months from the time of the denial letter to say, hey, would you please reconsider me? Just wanted to make sure that you folks are aware of that. Of course. Questions over there? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
If we would like a one-on-one to answer our specific question, can we do that today, or do we make an appointment at a recovery center?
That's exactly right. You don't need an appointment for a recovery center. You just walk in. We'll share the location listing with the city of Kenner, and we took your emails down. They'll shoot it to you, and feel free to go in. The closest one, we're opening one in Westwego, which is not close. There's one in New Orleans, which is a little bit closer, and then in the public library in New Orleans, 219 Loyola Avenue. There's folks there all the time, so you can ask them and talk to them, what have you. My role is to talk big picture. I don't have access to any of the nitty-gritty stuff, so for that, I would suggest that you speak to one of my colleagues. Thanks for that question. Sir, wait for the mic. Thank you, sir.
Recap, stage 3, you said grant, SBA, and there was a third. What was that third?
That's grant also, ONA.
ONA,
It's called ONA,
which stands for?
Other Needs Assistance.
Thank you.
Okay? So think of this big picture, 4 pots of money, overall, big picture, 4 pots of money. Safe, secure, sanitary conditions, FEMA. SBA's loans, low interest rate disaster loans. In an ideal world, safe, secure, sanitary conditions, along with our loans, low interest rate loans, is considered to have met the unmet needs of the community. If for some reason we can't help, regrettably, the third pot of money is the other needs assistance. And the last pot of money is the monies potentially that you might get from long-term recovery folks that come in to assist on a case-by-case basis. So the takeaway should be that there are resources available across the board. And folks that don't make enough money or don't have enough good credit, or folks who are disenfranchised, hypothetically, have ways to recover without necessarily borrowing the money. Because there's always criticism about, the folks who don't make enough money don't qualify. Yeah, that's correct. They don't qualify because you don't want to make a bad loan. But at the same time, you want people to get assistance that they rightfully deserve. So you got to go through the process to get to pot number 3 and to pot number 4. So we are just that kind of a go-through process. And if we are able to qualify you, so on and so forth. So on average, just to give an idea, as of this morning, the sums of money that we were able to approve on an individual basis, breaking it down, I mentioned 12,675 families, benefited to the tune of $49,501 per family. That's on average. And if you aggregate that, multiply by that number, we get to $627 million, give or take. And the number keeps rising. But the average amount doesn't seem to change. So that's hypothetically the sums of damages caused by Hurricane Ida. And we've got 16 centers through the 25 parish footprint. And so feel free to stop by any one of them. You don't have to be a resident of that parish to go there. If you happen to be in Golden Meadow, driving through, you can stop by. They can look up your answers. If you've got family in Grand Isle, please do the same thing. Wherever there is, I believe each one of you plays a very critical role today, either as an applicant or as an advocate. Folks who couldn't make it here today, spread the word. And with your help, Chris, perhaps we can have a couple more meetings like this, because the City of Kenner might be in need of more of these meetings, perhaps another day. Monday's not enough for everybody to be here, but here to serve. Candace, thanks for being here. Chris, thanks for making this happen. City of Kenner, appreciate you guys. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a number we can call other than the 800 number that you wait for hours locally to make an appointment for your time and whatever and not be turned away and say, oh, I'm sorry, we're not taking appointments, and you wait all day and you see no one?
So in my experience, without diluting your experience, we haven't had hour-long waits. The last time I called, we have to do our own testing, and I do it on my own just to see how long it takes. On Saturday when I called in, it was a 11-minute wait. On Friday, it was 17. On Tuesday, I don't think I called on Wednesday or Thursday, but on Tuesday it was 6.
So if you call in, they will give you a definite time and date
They
to
won't-
go to one of the recovery centers for a one-on-one?
They're not an appointment setting mechanism. What they are is to answer questions about the application. No appointment is necessary to go to our center. So when you get the list and you decide you want to go to one of those places, just drop by. There's no appointment necessary. So the 800 number is a source of information, not an appointment center.
Okay, one other question. If you are computer challenged and you don't know how to download all of these tax returns and all the stuff they require, where do you go for help?
That's what they're for. I love the Progressive commercial. We're going to make sure you're not like your dad. What is a PDF? I love that commercial, so I get it. All right, I get it. Lots of folks are computer challenged, and what's a PDF, right? I get it. Instead of quinoa, they're calling it whatever else it is. Anyway, it's a funny commercial. Yes, of course, we're there to help you.
Do you guys?
By the way, the reason we ask you to apply online, it's more efficient. That's the only reason. But we understand that the general public may not be as, computer savvy as they need to be. We completely get it.
Do you guys have people who speak Spanish?
I have one right here, and people in those centers, they list the fluency of the language that they're spoken. So Hindi, Chinese, Urdu, Spanish, Vietnamese.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
I had one last question. You mentioned, I believe, that the first step was go to FEMA. Do you know if that deadline has passed yet or not?
It's October 28th. It's right here.
Oh, that's the October 28th.
Yeah,
Okay.
October. Good Lord, October.
got you.
So that's a deadline for both FEMA and SBA.
Oh, okay.
So whatever deadline FEMA puts in place, the same thing applies for us.
All right.
We're all on the same page.
If for some reason you missed that date going to FEMA, then that just locks you out altogether of the process, or?
No, you need to have reasons that overcome
Right, okay.
why you couldn't show up
Okay.
for a 60-day period that goes back to the month of August. And if FEMA accepts their registration, the SBA most probably will accept it too.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. I saw another hand up somewhere. No? Yes, sir.
Can you talk about debt-to-income ratio
What would you like me to talk about?
as far as being approved?
I don't know what those numbers are, because a debt-to-income number, so hypothetically, let me talk about policy, right? You have a 50% debt-to-income, and your only debt is your mortgage, and that makes up 50% of your income. Is different than her situation where she's got 50% debt-to-income, where her mortgage debt is only 10%, but she seems to love to live off of credit cards, and the remaining 40% is credit cards. So that 50% debt-to-income versus this, or you can flip it. Or you can flip the role and, so that I'm not picking on her because she's a lady and you like to shop. Flip it around, same scenario. So it's the devil's in the details. Anything that I say here today is a sweeping statement, big picture, not nitty-gritty to your situation or your situation, because individuality makes a big difference. That's why we always tell folks, go ahead and apply, go ahead and apply, go ahead and apply, because her situation is different than his, and likewise everyone in this room. Yes, ma'am. All the way back there. Let me walk back there. No problems. Oh, excuse me.
So suppose your deductible is higher than your damages, but you still need to repair your damages. Does SBA cover that?
Yes, apply, apply, apply.
Okay, thank you.
And again, when you folks are out and about, just keep this in mind. It's registered with FEMA, apply with the SBA. Registered with FEMA, apply with the SBA. Vernaculars matter, words matter, generally speaking, but when people hear registered with FEMA, they know exactly what that is. Apply with the SBA, everybody knows exactly what that is too. What other questions do we have that I could entertain? You guys folks have been absolutely fabulous. Thank you for your time. Yes, sir.
I guess job number one is make sure the taxes are filed too.
Do I need to answer that? Yes, sir. Oh, one question over there in the back.
Okay, I did apply, I did go online for SBA yesterday, like I said earlier, and I'm registered, and I have an ID and a password. And then I had to do that, what is it,
Authentication
Yeah,
of your ID of
I
who you
did
are.
that also. Now, it disappeared, and then I found out that I need to have another number. So when I do apply, if I can, with FEMA, do I have to do all that over again?
Do nothing. Here's what I would like for you to do. Call the 1-800 number, or when you visit the FEMA center, we are co-located with them in those centers. Walk over to them and let them know that you got kicked out. Chances are the application is still saved and is still waiting for some input. Do not reapply, because it'll just complicate things and says duplicate. So the center that you go to get clarifying information about the SBA is where you mention your situation.
And where is that? That's the one
We
I
will share the physical locations with you, or you can call the 800 number.
Okay.
Okay? As we mentioned, in your particular case, the phone number is critical. You need to call them and find out what you need to do next for your particular case for the application. Thank you for the question. Yes, ma'am.
Would you by chance have a physical application you could give to us and we can fill out?
The 800 number can send that to you.
But you don't have any.
No, I don't have it. Most centers don't have it, because if you're sitting there right next to them, the expectation is you're going to sit with them and fill out the application, and everything's electronic, makes it error-proof, so on and so forth. So the mindset has been, just to give you a number, 99% of all applications are now electronic. And because of the logistical issues that we have here with electricity and internet, what we have done the past 30 days is actual mail out those applications to people on a case-by-case basis. So thanks for that question again. I can sense he's going to talk about Saints for some reason.
No, I hate doing this. I have a business, a warehouse that had the wind and hail exclusions, but like the back wall, like it need back wall, divider wall, a lot of work done on it. So, and then I have the house that has the 5% deductible that has damage as well. Can I do a FEMA for an SBA loan application for both?
Two separate applications, one for home, one for the business. Registration required on the personal side. Businesses are encouraged. And the same set of deductibles apply. Deductibles on the business are the same way as deductibles for homeowners and renters. Thanks for the question. Sounds like we exhausted all the questions. Oh, one more.
So I own a fourplex and I live in it. So will that be considered a business, or am I a homeowner?
Well, it depends on your taxes. So in other words, on your taxes, if we see on your Schedule E that the other three are rental income, one of the units will be considered your primary home,
Yeah.
and the other three will be considered rental income.
And that was the only one that had damage, my property.
Well, there you go. So it'll be a home loan for you on your damaged side of the fourplex.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much on this Monday morning. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Yes, sir.